Boy, this is one of my favorite things. Of course, I'm dressed kind of the way folks were dressed back then, particularly if you were riding horses all the time. That's why I didn't sit in a mud puddle. That's actually the area that hits the horse or the rough buckboard. Those parts of your pants usually wear out. So back in the old days, they would put like separate things, sometimes leather, around the inside of the pants so that they would last longer. We got a bunch of things there. Smedovic is obviously wearing a wonderful gown, one for actually festive events. I have an actual gown here from the American Civil War, and more appropriate, this is in black because so many people were in mourning. Yes. See, in the Deep South, a lot of people still refer to this as the war between the states because they never admitted that they lost the war. And the whole idea was states were individual sovereign territories. So it was, before the American Civil War, it was always these United States of America. After the Civil War, it became the United States of America. In the 1850s, an old ex-sailorman, he wandered around through the South. He had a wooden peg for a left leg, and he passed himself off as a house painter to the ruling whites. But the slaves had a name for him. They called him the Old Man. For the old man is a-waiting for to carry you to freedom. Oh, follow the drinking gold. Now at night the old man would join the slaves around the perimeters of the plantations. They'd sing songs and tell stories together. But whenever he got to this song, everybody would shut up and they just listened so carefully. Because the old man was telling them in a secret code how to find the first terminal of the Underground Railroad, should you escape. And maybe you're going to get lost and scared and confused, and that can happen when people are shooting at you, and dogs are nipping at your heels. So all you have to do is look along the horizon for the Big Dipper. We've all seen the Big Dipper. The outside edge of the Big Dipper, they're called the pointer stars because they always point to the same place any time of night, any time of year. They point to another star called Polaris, which is also called the North Star. So what the old man is doing is telling you to follow that drinking gold. When the sun comes up and the first quail calls, oh, follow the drinking gold. Then the old man's waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gold. You gotta follow the drinking gold. You gotta follow the drinking gold. For the old man's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gold. In this case, he's telling you to go up the Tombigbee River. You get back in your classroom, you find it on a map of the United States. It flows down into Mobile Bay. You trace it up to where it starts. It starts in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And right over on the other side of the first ridge, there's a little stream. It starts flowing the other direction, flowing north. And it flows into the Tennessee River. And you follow that Tennessee River with your finger, you see it flows north into the Ohio River. Get across that Ohio River, you're a lot closer to freedom. Oh, the riverbank can make a mighty good road. Dead trees will show you the way. Dead trees will show you the way. He's talking about leaving his mark on the old dead trees with his Bowie knife, a line and a dot for a leg and a peg. Right foot, peg foot, traveling on. You gotta follow the freaking road. gotta follow the drinking gold. You gotta follow the drinking gold. For the old man's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gold. Oh, well, the river ends between two hills, so follow the drinking gold. But there's another river on the other side, so follow the drinking gold. You gotta follow the drinking gold. You gotta follow the drinking gold. Oh, the old man's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gold. Follow, follow, follow the drinking gold. You follow that drinking gold. By the way, that yodel, it's called a slave yodel. There's a fellow called Frederick Olmsted that researched that. American slaves had a way of communicating through the forest. Folks have forgotten about now. They could yodel or holler, and just everybody had their own kind of yodel. So you could tell who was doing the making the noise, and also a little bit about what they were up to, what was going on, just by these hollers. Slavery. Whew. Nasty, nasty thing, and boy, oh boy, we're still suffering for it, aren't we? Slavery. Yes, sir. It seems like slavery, for the most part, was white people owning black people. Yep. Yep. Although, not really. No, not really at all. In this country, it was. But yeah, you go down to the Caribbean, you could find black people that owned white people. Or you could find blacks that owned blacks and whites that owned white. And just because you happen to be born into a family of slaves didn't mean that you were necessarily going to be a slave all your life. No. Now that's something that happened up here, rather specifically. So much so that just before the American Civil War broke out, 3 of the largest plantations in the Deep South in Mississippi were owned by black families, black American families, all of whom owned slaves. Or the first Confederate soldiers for the South to fire on the Yankee soldiers from the North in the town of New Orleans were black Confederate soldiers who all owned slaves. Crazy.